Hey, Doug, congratulations again. This is a great overdue honor for you, I think. Um, have you written your speech yet?
uh, we worked on it a little bit, so we're bumping it around a touch.
And how many family members and friends do you plan to have attend?
I think there's probably 50 or so, if I'm not mistaken.
Great. Close family members are all the, all your children and maybe some of the grandchildren attending?
Yep, we got all the kids. There'll be a full complement of grandkids running around, little redheads.
I know it's hard to put all of this into perspective in a sound bite, but you've had to wait a little bit, obviously, for the induction. But when you've been planning your speech and maybe giving this some thought, what is going into your thought process and into your mind for this induction?
Just the journey of the people, the people that were along the road. I mean, there's some guys that were very close and near and dear to me that unfortunately aren't with us and may not be here physically, but in spirit. They'll be deep in my thoughts.
Can I ask, maybe who were some of the biggest influences in terms of getting you involved in the game and throughout your career?
Well, I think, the youth coaches growing up, obviously my brother was a big influence trying to follow in his footsteps. And, then junior guys like Brian Kilray was a big impact in my life in many ways. I mean, not just as a coach, but as a kind of a teacher of life. So it was, you go through that journey. There's guys in Winnipeg that were youth coaches, the Rod Dockers, the Bud Lindels. I mean, it's funny when you think about it and think back, people that were there at key times in your life.
Yes. Also, picking out key moments in your playing career, have you assembled a top five, or what stands out to you?
Top five. That's a really good question. I think playing your first game obviously is a big moment. Playing in the Canada Cup in '84 was a big thing for me. Playing with all the top players and coached by Glenn Sather. I mean, I think that was a big event also. Obviously, some of the playoff series we had against Edmonton, some of the specific games where our team just kind of is one of those things where when you have high end performances against high end teams, you remember those things.
You mentioned the '84 Canada Cup, and I look at that one too. I mean, obviously you had a great career with the Hawks and finished with the Sharks, but in '84, I know you scored a big goal against the former Soviets in the semis. And when I look at that roster in '84, and you're going in, with Kevin Lowe too, who was maybe your defense partner most of the time in that Canada Cup, and then what do you recall about that goal you scored?
Well, I remember the goal. Gretz made a great play from behind the net. I jumped in. We rotated all the D-men around. We had a really good team. Obviously, the group of defensemen on the team with Bork and Coffey and Lowe and Heidi and myself and Larry Robinson. So you kind of mixed and matched a little bit. The one thing that does stand out to me, though, is playing against the KLM line and just how dominant they were and how good they were. The level of hockey in that game really was I'd never played in a game close to that. When you've got players playing on the third or fourth line that are stars on their NHL teams, it just elevates the whole game.
Yeah, no, and the other thing too, when I look at your career and not just the playing career, but the years as a manager with the Sharks, I see it as a time where it seems like your time in the game is really spanned an amazing era, with hockey in terms of all the people you were able to meet as a player and those great names, and you've seen the game grow, double almost in size and change a lot. And now all the great players you deal with today, has that kind of been something that you've thought about at all, just how kind of a lucky time that you landed with your career?
Well, the fact that I played in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you cross over from a lot of people. Played against Gordie Howe, got to play with Bob Orr, got to room with Stan Mikita, got to play with Tony Esposito. So you're exactly right. I mean, you go through different generations, the transitions of this league. And the one thing that I think is a great thing to see is the expectations of our great players really follow in the footsteps of our former great players. Our greatest players, I think, set the tone about what this league is all about, what this game is all about. And we're in good hands because I think these players certainly respect the history and the lineage of what these former top guys did.
And probably last for me, and this is a kind of a big picture question, maybe hard to answer, but what do you feel like the game of hockey has afforded you?
The ability to do something you love. I mean, that's really, when you look back, I think that's one of the key things you want for everybody. And I always look at things through the lenses of my grandkids, for example, do what you love. And, that's, I'm not sure everybody gets to be able to do that, but if you have that choice and that opportunity, it certainly is good advice.
Excellent. Congratulations again, Doug. Thank you.
Thanks, Rossi.
Go next to Curtis.
Hey, Doug, congratulations, and thanks again for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Curtis.
You mentioned, when you first got into the league, I know it's probably tough to put into words, but how important were men like Stan Mikita and Tony Esposito as far as just your maturity and coming into the NHL?
Well, I think it was huge. I mean, my first roommate was Stan, and obviously Tony was our goalie, and Keith Magnuson. And the team was a much older team. I was one of the few young guys on the team. I was 19, and whatever they did or told me to do, I was going to follow in their footsteps. But I mean, Stan Mikita was, I think, one of the smartest people, one of the just the greatest givers when it comes back to helping other people. And I'm not an academic, but you learn by osmosis, and you just watch him and how he treated situations and treated people. It was of great value to me.
That the year that you won the Norris Trophy, 39 goals. How, when you look back at that season, was it just everything coming together at the same time, or how do you kind of evaluate what you did that year?
I got off to a great start. Things you're just kind of clicking, and pretty consistent with getting opportunities and not just scoring goals. I thought I played pretty well. In some ways, I thought the following year I actually had a better all-around year than the Norris year, but it was just a year the numbers happened. I actually broke my jaw later in that year and was wired shut for about 6-7 weeks. I took a shot from a player in Vancouver, missed a couple of games and came back, lost a little weight and maybe got a little faster. I don't know.
What's a question that always kind of pops up when people look at old footage of your playing career is why was Doug not wearing a helmet? What was the reason for not wearing a helmet in your career?
Well, maybe not being that bright, I guess. I don't know. No, I idolized a lot of the guys in the league, the Bobby Orrs, obviously my brother and people like that. And it was, the helmets back then were pretty heavy. I was wearing a Stan Mikita helmet in junior, and it was pretty heavy. But I don't know. The players I looked up to and really idolized did not wear helmets. And at that time, when I broke in, which is obviously a long time ago, not many guys did. So it was normal then, but by the end of my career, when things had transitioned through, it was certainly not the normal.
Was there ever any question as to whether you were obviously drafted by Indianapolis too, the World Hockey League. Was there ever any question about maybe signing with them instead of the Chicago?
It's funny. The day before the NHL draft, I'd been contacted by a couple of teams from WHA, and they were making, interesting offers. They had an agreement that I guess any team could make offers to, and if they could get you signed. But the fact that my brother was playing in the NHL, it really, at that point, it was about going to the NHL, getting drafted at a good place to be able to go in and get the opportunity to play. So it was, I guess I thought about it, but I don't think I really gave it any serious consideration. I wanted to play in the NHL.
You mentioned Murray. How much of is it tough to overstate how important he was as far as your career goes?
He was a great big brother. I mean, he included me in all his experiences and his journey. He was a great athlete. I mean, he could do everything, but there's no doubt you have insight and the benefit of having somebody that's gone through it and can share his wisdom.
It's special. Obviously, he's in there with all those members of those great Canadian teams in the late 70s. Is it special now that you'll be in there with him in that respect?
Well, I think just the thought of joining some of these people from not only specific teams and eras and games like that, it still hasn't even sunk into me. I'll be honest with you.
What the day that you were elected to the Hall, your entire family was basically with you, I think, at that time, and that your wife and your kids and your grandkids, and how special was that moment, looking back at just getting that call from Lanny and knowing that you were in?
Well, just the fact that we were all there, and everything that everybody's going through with at that point. The grandkids weren't sure if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Everybody was jumping up and down, and so they didn't know what to do. So a couple of them just jumped in the pool. So I had to go jump in the pool and kind of rescue them a little bit. But I think to have Kath and the kids and all the kids be able to be there, and biggest thing for me was for Lanny to include Kathy on the phone call, which he did, which was, I think, pretty amazing, kind of him.
You obviously, Kathy is there. Do you have, I guess, to put it bluntly, I mean, does Doug Wilson have the career he has without Kathy?
No. I mean, having a support system, and when we moved out there, California, the kids were 7'5", 3-1. She knew nobody, and I had 22 new teammates, and she was a pioneer, and the fact that she was able to do that and said, "Let's go," was pretty cool.
Sorry for kind of jumping all over the place here, but those Blackhawks teams were terrific teams. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The amount of skill that you guys had in that era. Was it just kind of bad luck that you ran into an Oilers team that has had 7 or 8 Hall of Famers on that team as well? I mean, how do you look back at that era? Do you feel that you guys could have won a cup if it had not been for the Oilers?
Yeah, there's a group of teams that had dominant runs during that period. The Islanders, Oilers. I mean, it was, and we did. We thought we had a really good team, but I do remember the Oilers. You look at them and watch them play, and it was almost like first team to 7. They just knew they were going to score 5 or 6 or 7, and they played at a different level. But I appreciated. Loved my time in Chicago, playing in the old stadium in front of those fans. But it would have been nice if we could have pushed to that next level. But I have nothing but great memories with those guys.
Can you take us through then, the decision on your part to allow a trade to happen to San Jose, and what was going through your mind at that point?
Well, it was time. I mean, there was a changing of the guard, and it was we had an opportunity to do a couple of things. And to me, to be into the ground floor of something brand new was a unique challenge, and it just, for some reason, just resonated. It would be like starting a new company, you're going to a new paper and starting it up. There was just something that was intriguing about it, and it was a good choice. It was a fun journey.
There were a lot of challenging moments, though, right? I mean, it's.
That's an understatement.
At the end of the 92-93 season, did you figure that it was time to hang it up at that point, or what were your thinking after that second season with the Sharks?
The body was done. I went and talked to Dr. Watkins in LA, and he said, "You know what? With where your body is at, you're putting yourself at risk going forward." And when it comes down to making that type of decision, I played a lot of hockey, a lot of miles, and the body was just was breaking down. The back and the neck were pretty well done.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Curtis.
Okay, we're going to give Shang a try here. Looks like maybe you got your audio fixed.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
There you are,
okay.
Shane.
Okay. Hey, Doug. Congratulations, Doug.
Thank you.
I wanted to focus on that part, the trade to San Jose. You mentioned the change in the guard in Chicago. In the lead up, I'm wondering, I guess the specific elements. The newspapers back then, true or not, they said that you and Mike Keenan didn't necessarily get along. Was it that or other stuff that kind of led to the trade?
Well, I think there was a change. There was, my good friend Danny Savard, and there was some, I think, things going on between the management and coaching and all that. It was just time. And, we were afforded the opportunity from ownership to pick and choose where we wanted to go. And it was, there just comes that time. And that's really what it was.
I read that you had kind of a farewell party with your teammates maybe a week or so before the trade without actually knowing where you were going. So can you just describe that? It must have been kind of strange in some ways.
Well, as I say, the ownership and management had given me permission, and we put a little something together at a golf club out by where we lived, and everybody showed up, and actually the general manager showed up. So it was all done above board and the blessing of ownership.
And was there any hesitation when you were asked to go to San Jose? What was, like you already kind of described your reaction, but was there even a moment there's like, where am I going? What is this team?
Well, again, we got to choose and select, and it was again the challenge of being in on something brand new and on the ground floor and be a pioneer. Something was exciting. It really was, and to grow the game and build a relationship with the fans. That first year team was a really close team. When you think of some of the guys that were on that team, it was a special time. And I think a lot of those players that played on that team deserve a lot of credit for establishing the relationship with our fans and in our base.
And I guess just for us history nerds, who else was interested in you in the summer of 1991? Could you have joined Gretzky in LA, Denny Savard in Montreal?
No, I'm trying to think back. There was a group of teams. I think it was the Rangers. It was Detroit. I think maybe Philly. I mean, there was a group of teams involved, and it was it was a family choice, a family type of determination, and that's how we made that decision. Mr. Gund and Jack Ferrara. It was just a unique opportunity. When I first went to Chicago, it was kind of like a restart. They're transitioning from the older players into a new time and place. But for some reason, it just felt right.
Curtis?
Doug, do you feel you got enough credit for being the defensive defenseman that you were? Obviously, you put up terrific numbers in your career, but do you feel you also were able to be a very good defensive defenseman as well?
I think we always took value in wanting to be out on the ice in the last couple of minutes in the game, whether you're up one or down one. And I was used that way, and I felt very comfortable in all those situations. So I think that the numbers sometimes, in a lot of players' cases, sometimes overshadow other things that, the players do. And I think I don't look at it that I didn't get credit for. There were some really dominant defensemen in the game at that time, and a lot of guys that I looked up to and had great respect for. And so that was kind of, I don't think I was not credited for it. I just think that there was, a lot of talented guys out there doing a lot of great things in the game.
Right. Bobby Orr was with the Blackhawks when you first got there. Well, can you remember just your first interactions with him?
I think the greatest defenseman that ever played. He changed the game for all of us. And, a wonderful person too. It was tough because he was only playing on one leg, but still, once he got the puck and the things he would do, I'd followed his career since he initially turned pro, and just an amazing person, amazing player. As I say, one of the greatest of all time.
And, what does it mean you get to go in with this class, players like Jerome again, like Kevin Lowe, Marian Hossa, Ken Holland, a counterpart of yours, and Kim St. Pierre. What does this mean to you to go in with this class in particular?
Well, I think it's a great class. I mean, there's 2 goalies, 2 defensemen, 2 forwards. There's a nice little balance to it. And I am going to tell them that I was a goalie for 4 or 5 years, so maybe I get a little credit for that too. But quality people, obviously people that you're very familiar with what they've accomplished career-wise, but getting to know them will be a fun thing this weekend. The ones that I haven't interact with as much as Kenny and Jerome and Kevin for sure, but I'm looking forward to this.
You're in Toronto right now?
I am.
Yeah. Just what do you think of the festivities this weekend? Is it kind of is what you thought it would be, kind of thing so far?
We got in late last night, so we're just running out to go do the first thing now. So it's busy. Looks like a busy schedule, and we're looking forward to it.
Thanks again, Doug.
Thanks, Curtis.
Shane, I think had a follow-up. We lost his audio there. Go ahead, Shane. Shane, I don't
Shane.
think we can hear you. Shane, we had you, and then I think we lost you again.
Can you guys?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, my follow-up was, Doug, you mentioned the other teams that, were interested in you. Did you have sort of a runner-up team to San Jose, or was it, San Jose all the way?
We had conversations a lot with in New York in particular, Neil Smith at that time. And it was kind of a lifestyle family decision that we ended up making. And I'll just say, just the intrigue of something brand new, and to put up that challenge was something unique and special. And that's really how the decision came down.
And I guess following that up a little bit, from what I understand, when you got traded to San Jose, you had never actually been in the Bay Area. Is that right? And what was your first reaction, when you landed in the Bay Area?
Well, we've done some research. Some very good friends of ours that lived out there and the businesses they were in. So they talked about, they loved the area, they loved the schools, the opportunities, and the excitement of a new franchise. I mean, you look at the new franchises in the league. When people go there, it's an exciting opportunity and challenge. And Mr. Gund in particular was a big influence. And his reputation, his love for the game, how he wanted to do things was a big factor for me.
And also too, earlier, I might have missed this. Did talking with Jack Ferrara also kind of set your mind to San Jose?
It influenced it, yes. There's no doubt. And we knew it was going to be the challenge. I mean, you talked about some of the games and some of the nights and everything, but it was, as I say, just to be part of that and part of, you look what Seattle's doing. You look what, when new teams start out, there's an excitement and challenge to it that is very unique.
And that's kind of what he told you, just to be on the ground floor and be a part of that. Yeah, and just a couple more here on this point. When you got traded to the Sharks, you were asked, why you didn't go, chase a cup, and you said something to the effect that it's not just about winning a cup; it's part of building to that moment together, and it seems like you have not regretted, I guess, that decision at all.
Well, I mean, it was a very difficult decision. I mean, there was, where I was at with the kids, with the family, where we wanted to move to, and what we wanted to be part of. And we talked a lot about it, but it was just the excitement of being in something new. And I think it was exciting. It was exhilarating. I don't think there was, any hesitation once we made that decision.
All right. Thanks so much, Doug. Congratulations once again.
Thanks, Shane.
We got one more from Curtis here.
Sorry, Doug. I just wanted to ask, I was just is part of you thinking about, your dad, as this weekend, as you, go into the hall on Monday, how much are you kind of thinking about your father as you go in?
A lot, a lot. I mean, there's a group of people obviously that are not with us, and that is that's a part of life that it gets to, but it's that's a great question, Chris. It really is. I mean, it just makes you realize how fortunate you are. As I say, the people that passed, that contributed to your life. I talked to the Makita family for a while, and obviously we lost Tony Esposito recently too. So it's those are difficult things, but people that you do know what they meant to you.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Doug.